Sorry, go ahead.
No, because you brought up a topic that I feel hurt about right now when you say that in school I was among the top five in most of my, I think right up till the eighth standard. Then two divisions got merged into one, and I straight away went to the 20th rank or something. And then
Oh,
suddenly I didn't think very good about myself. I thought, okay, I really. And only later when I understood percentages, I realized that throughout my life I had almost the same percentage, just that I was in a class where. And now, when you're talking about this, I want to talk about an aspect that I have never thought about in terms of vulnerability. Is the aspect that I never thought of other people who were like the 20th rank or the 25th rank. I always thought they were beneath me. And this
interesting.
continued right up to the time I grew up in my job. When I meet, I still might have remnants of that a lot. But initially, it was very strong. Like people who were intellectual, people who could hold a conversation, who knew the world and could talk about under any topic under the sun. It was always to be with them and those kind of people. Not everybody else was beneath me. And now, when you just flipped this over, I realized that is it trying to escape the vulnerability of the fact that maybe I thought I belonged there and this fight was always within me. What do you have to say about something like this? Is there an aspect to think about?
I think the last part of what you said answers everything. The fight is really always within us. Who is out there to fight, really? I mean, we think we are fighting with somebody else, but really we're fighting in our head. We are having conversations, and the conversation that in my mind I am having with another is actually I'm talking to myself, and I am representing the other. The other doesn't really exist as such.
Yeah.
If you go to and when you're dealing in relationships, I would say that when vulnerability is something that if you don't, and I'm talking about in general all relationships, so you're not talking about a special relationship or a love or a romantic relationship, you're talking about any relationship, any two people when they come together. I think vulnerability is what makes the relationship meaningful, because you trust somebody, and in the moment you trust another person, you are you know opening
Opening
up
yourself up.
yourself. Yeah. And you don't know, because you are not the other person. You don't know what will happen, but that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And probably evolutionary instincts make us take those big risks when you fall in love, when you're young, and you don't realize that you're actually, you kind of know that it's a big vulnerability you're getting exposed to, because you don't know how it's going to be with the person you let's say you end up being together for the rest of your life or for several years. How will it going to be? Because in the beginning, it's all beautiful.
Hmm.
That's the way it is for everybody.
Oh, that is sweet ignorance.
I think it's a sort of an evolutionary trick, designed to make you feel, all the kind of right chemicals are released, and you kind of like, okay, I'm ready to take the risk, and I'm ready to be vulnerable. I can do whatever you want. I will do whatever you want for, whatever it takes to be with this person. And I think that that's okay. It has a place and time for
One
those
question.
kind of.
Sorry. This is quite fragile as a question. I'll try and make it up as we go along. Because you brought up relationships, it's not directly related to vulnerability per se, but in the vulnerability of relationships, uh, very often we get to we very easy. Like we will fight it out together. We don't have the money, but we'll so do this. If our parents and the society is against us, we'll fight this out and do this, whatever the odds, and we'll or else we get into this dreamy space. We'll have our own space and we will succeed like this, and we'll go abroad or whatever kinds of uh, coupled fantasies that we create.
Yeah.
So uh, is there any learning in the fact that you're letting go of yourself and allowing yourself to trust and build a kind of team? I'm just loosely using terms now
Mhm.
in facing the vulnerability. If one were to bring in an honest interaction, say me and my wife get together, or me and my business partner get together to start something, we are both being vulnerable. We are putting our eggs in one basket, and we both decide to take care of that. And we know that it's not up to me only, neither in terms of effort nor in terms of outcomes.
Yes.
So when I put that trust, that ability to handle vulnerability for a little while, even if it is not called that, because the hormones are working or your greed is working, all those things are one part. I'm not getting into that. I'm saying, is there a methodology that one can look at, that you make yourself vulnerable in a group or in kind of like-minded people to start practicing being with it? Is there scope for that kind of thought?
Very much. I think this whole discussion, I think, is eventually, I think, aimed at that. How do we become consciously, like I said, I used the phrase earlier, becoming consciously vulnerable. So uh, if we, at the very outset, learn to accept, and now, of course, we are talking about learning to accept, that does not mean that we don't try to not be vulnerable. In the sense, it will always be we'll always try to minimize the risk. But at the same time, uh, it's sort of like, um, Wayne Dyer used to call it, we are doomed to make choices, something like that. So it's a sort of a paradox, and truth is always paradoxical. So it's kind of like that. You kind of make, it's like, there is risk, and yet you are going to try and minimize the risk. And so that's fine. The problem
It's the
happens
right
when we get,
instinct.
when the problem happens when you get attached to the not no minimizing risk part and forget that the risk will inherently always be there. And I think uh, in the world of business, uh, this risk part is something that there is something called risk management. We have in all large companies a department of risk management,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And try to minimize the risk. But at the same time, businesses would completely go, you know, I mean, they'll not really be able to survive if they are not constantly reinventing. And there is risk there. If they're in business, there is always risk, isn't it? So we can learn from there. But the thing is that businesses are a completely different animal. When it comes to individual human beings, it's a different dynamic at play. So when individuals take risks, and when they take risks in, depends on which area they take that particular risk in. So if they're taking a risk which is a financial risk, are they prepared? So we tend to sort of think that uh, either they're overconfident and they say nothing will go wrong, and I can do whatever I want, and I believe my instincts or my intellect, whatever it is, so much, I know that nothing can go wrong. But once again, they're probably trying to convince themselves of something that actually doesn't exist. Because you can have low risk and high risk, but you can't have zero risk.
This is one question I want to, because this is getting into a little bit of quote unquote mumbo jumbo. So I want to
Okay.
ask you, uh, is there any particular example you can give from your life where you understood the vulnerability and you played accordingly? And I want to bring in the aspect of what is the mindset that helps us accept that vulnerability, because very often in your answers you've been saying conscious vulnerability, acceptance of vulnerability. We have to have this, and we are doomed to make choices. So everything seems thrust upon us. So are we saying it's like it's a fatalistic point of view? Okay, there's nothing you can do about it, or is there a mindset which is more positive? What's the mind that can accept? So can you give us a real time example which you now or earlier, where you could face it because of whatever mindset that you decided to adopt?
I can try to give you an example. I'm not sure whether I can help you to find a methodology in it, because I don't
This
think
is
that there is,
fine.
yeah.
We're not looking at
Uh,
methodologies anyways.
there are examples at all times, like when I was publishing the magazine, we were in a pretty difficult sort of business. The industry was kind of in a sunset phase. And we had launched a magazine just a few years ago, and I just bought over the business from my parent company. And a year after I bought over, the business started to decline. So all my calculations of why I'm buying and what am I doing with it, they went out of the window. I mean, they had to be discarded. And I had to really approach this whole business afresh. And I realized I was extremely vulnerable at that time, because I had given up the security of, a high paying job. I had taken upon myself a risk of owning a business, and therefore the responsibility of paying salaries to so many employees, who depended on me. And I had taken a huge pay cut myself because I wanted to now be the owner. So probably the risk reward ratio, initially you need to sacrifice and all of that. And now in the face of all of that, and I thought that the future is going to be bright. Now the future looked extremely dull and perhaps very, very bleak. And at the same time, I didn't really have a choice to sit back and think about it, because we were in a business that required us to constantly work. Like, it was a monthly magazine. We needed, and we had a certain quality our subscribers and readers were used to, and so were our advertisers. So we needed, and we had authors from across the world. We had to collate all the articles. We had to, design a whole new product every month. We had to get that printed in the printing press, which was in a different city. We had to organize the logistics, and this was done on a monthly basis. And obviously, I was a small team. I mean, we didn't really have resources of a big media house. So there I was, I took up such a I took a step thinking that everything is going to turn out fine based on, the decision was made on at a time when everything looked fine. And yet, so many factors are unpredictable. And when the decline began, a lot of our competing magazines or competitors, like, for instance, we had Prevention, we had Men's Health, they all started shutting down. So, and I saw myself every month. I used to go through that phase where, oh, what do I do? Do I continue with the magazine or do I wind up? And and there is no real escape from it. You need to go through it every month. I mean, in my specific example, I had to go through it. So every month, just before the issue closing, waiting for advertising. Are we going to, break even? Are we going to lose money? If we lose money, I lose money directly. And, is it worth it? The kind of efforts that we are putting in and the kind of stress I was known as Mr. Wellbeing before I bought the business up. And now I started to question myself, because although I preached a lot of, balance and lifestyle and all of that, I wasn't really practicing most of it now. And I could see that it's not a choice. It wasn't really something that I was choosing. It was something that was happening.
Okay.
And I had to test of what was happening. So that's the best I can say. I mean, in the sense that it's moment to moment. That is the reason I said acceptance. I said acceptance in the sense that at some point you start realizing that what other choice do you have? You can keep fighting, or you can accept that this is how it is. And then once you accept, you say, all right, let's keep taking one step at a time and see what happens. And that's exactly what I did.
This is interesting. You brought up three values as far as I am concerned, because of the story that you narrated in such great detail. First was the fact that you realize that you have to own up. The very first point that, okay, this is the situation and this is how I am in it.
Yes.
The second part was, which you discussed right now, is the letting go part of it. That while you're owning up, There's also the absolutely contrarian idea of saying that I am not responsible alone unless I let go of this whole thing. Because that space, my understanding so far in my journeys, various times that I felt vulnerable is the acceptance frees your mind to concentrate on what is possible.
Exactly.
Because the space
Exactly.
is otherwise so full that you are too concerned with the regurgitating of the same information again and again and again that it doesn't allow you to come up with a new idea.
Yes.
And the third part of what I liked was the fact that you take one day at a time. So effectively, a lot of times we've been fed with this whole thing of being multitaskers.
Yes.
Like on one hand, we've been told that we are good for nothing if we don't come up first, and on the other hand, we have this. Indians have a word for this called jugaad as well, where we think everything works if we do this and just we make the right phone calls and uh,
Yeah.
under the table stuff and all kinds of things that we do. I think that's just trying to escape what you mentioned very well. And I think one point I would want to take home and definitely ponder over is I have called it impermanence because of my practice very often that things are bound to fail. You have to start with that premise because that premise cannot be avoided. But I like the word vulnerable a lot more because it's far more loaded. It almost
Hmm.
covers the mental ground that I've been wanting to.
Right.
Because when you use words like impermanence or when you use words like um, non-self and whatever the words that we use in our in the practice that I do, these are huge words. Even to arrive at that kind of juncture where you feel that oh, I understand them, it requires many years of practice. But vulnerability is something that doesn't require practice. In fact, you put it very nicely. The day you're born, your fight for survival. There is this Indian idiom that they say, uh, if the kid doesn't cry, the mother doesn't feed.
Exactly.
So it's a very beautiful example of that you have to fend from for yourself from the moment you're born. You have to announce to your mother, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
It's only then she realizes, oh, I've got to do this. Of course, this is all exaggerated and idiom being an idiom.
Yeah. That's the point. I mean, you should look beyond the
The
message, you know.
cultural aspect of it. But I like the fact that you really pinned it down to while you said that you will not give a methodology. I try and struggle to reach the point where have when you share a story, there is real time inspiration that one can borrow.